Il y avait plein de rumeurs, mais nous, on n'était pas derrière les portes. Et John Turnbull, lui, il était de Saint-Jean et connaissait probablement toutes les difficultés techniques qui se sont présentées à la Brickland au fur et à mesure que ça s'est produit, et les difficultés aussi de personnel, parce que c'était le père de Malcolm Brickland qui, à un moment donné, faisait des problèmes. Bon, alors John Turnbull, lui, il était le critique de l'opposition, il connaissait probablement ça plus que nous, mais il reste que c'était quelqu'un de l'opposition qui était payé pour être critique. Le débat politique, je crois qu'a voulu nous maintenir l'opposition. Je pense qu'il a souffert de trop de rumeurs parallèles qui circulaient ou qui couraient sur le fait qu'un premier ministre d'une province s'était laissé séduire par un playboy américain qui est venu lui vendre une idée farfelue.
Hey, on a quelque chose ici, des chiffres.
The result is dramatic losses. The first cars off the line cost $16,000 apiece, but are selling for just $5,000. And while New Brunswickers are awed by the look of the car, they don't realize that it is an engineering nightmare, riddled with faults. By the fall of 1974, Bricklin Canada has spent $15.4 million testing and designing the car and produced just 100 vehicles. Once again, the company is on the edge of bankruptcy, but only Malcolm Bricklin and Richard Hatfield know this. Both are desperate for some good news. What they get instead is the Bricklin election.
We got close. I had great admiration for the man. I considered him one of the real good international politicians. Smart, independent, not hooked up with anybody. I mean, just paid attention to doing the job. And we'd be on TV shows everywhere, so he was getting what he wanted. Then at the height of his popularity, he comes into the office and he says, I need 3 Bricklins. Sure. What do you want it for? He said, I'm calling an election. He said, the first car is going to come get the crowds. Second car is coming with my mother in it. Third car is coming with me. And he did. And of course, it was reported all over Canada.
Look around. St. John is no longer stalled in the threshold. We're on the move. Let's keep things rolling with the Hatfield government.
In October, Richard Hatfield calls a general election. But rather than run from the Bricklin, he makes it a central plank of his campaign. And New Brunswickers eat it up.
Même s'il ne pouvait pas parler pendant la dernière semaine de campagne électorale, il n'y a pas besoin de parler, il y avait son œuvre devant lui. Je parle par mes œuvres et pas par ma voix.
Because the truth of the matter is, what I have found is the only thing that makes any sense is to dream. To not dream is to die.
Je l'ai, le produit, j'ai la preuve que ça marche. Alors je l'ai. Il a gagné ces élections.
I love this car!
Ce que Hatfield a fait avec la Brickland pendant la campagne électorale, il l'a misé, puis on a fait un capital politique qui lui a amené la victoire. Bon, c'est pas le seul facteur, mais c'est un facteur important parce que c'était un symbole de succès.
Oh, they loved it. They loved it, and who wouldn't have? You know, it looked great. The New Brunswickers at the time were not aware of the fact that the car had been engineered after Bricklin arrived. They weren't aware that the production process was a shambles, that it never really came together. But the prototype of the car and then the first cars off the assembly line looked great. They were sexy cars, and New Brunswick craved that, something that in fact they were producing that in fact was that sexy.
And the night of the election, he won with the largest landslide ever recorded in that part of Canada. The front page of all the papers had a Bricklin with the doors up and him flying out of the top with the Superman uniform on, and headlines, Premier wins the Bricklin election. I'm going, da-da-da-da-da. I got this place knocked. Whatever I want, I'm going to get. And that's the way it seemed to work out. Things are going along. We're starting to do the quality problems. We have back orders that could take us 5 years to ever supply. And as soon as people are loving the car, not some of the quality problems that we're fixing.
For the Liberal opposition, led by Robert Higgins, it's a disaster. Even though they know the project has serious problems, nothing they throw at the Bricklin or at Richard Hatfield ever sticks. But Malcolm Bricklin knows the Liberals will shut him down if they win. But with the Premier's election hopes literally riding on the car, Bricklin realizes that Hatfield is vulnerable and demands more money, and the Premier gives it to him in secret. In early November, $1.5 million is funneled to Bricklin, Canada. Rent on the St. John plant hasn't been paid for 16 months, and Bricklin is about to be evicted. 2 days later, another $1 million payment is authorized.
It was a secret infusion. If not, the Bricklin would have failed during the election campaign. And the prize of winning the election was great enough that Richard Hatfield and his Conservatives were willing to deceive the public that much.
For Hatfield, banking on the Bricklin pays off as his Conservative Party is re-elected. But the secret loans turn out to be a mistake. When the payments are made public after the election, popular opinion begins to turn against the project.
There was a shift in mood, and I think it was just by virtue of the fact that people could see the amount of money the province of New Brunswick was having to pump in, and virtually the production of the car was not producing the revenue stream to, in fact, bring the plant up to its optimum level. There were no other substantial investors. The province of New Brunswick was it.
Hatfield and Bricklin do the only thing they can, ride it out. By this point, they have no other choice.
He tied himself to the car, and the car tied himself to him. And we were together. And we were stuck together for both good and bad. And unfortunately, it was to the bad.
Automotively speaking, $1 million will...
Dans l'industrie automobile, on dépense $1 million en 2 heures. C'est extrêmement dispendieux de construire une voiture. Et les gens ne comprennent pas ça.
And people don't understand that. Actually, the financial planning volume, that's called FPV.
On prévoyait produire 10 voitures à l'heure, donc 80 par jour, sur un quart de travail de 8 heures.
And it was absolutely impossible.
C'était impossible de faire 10 voitures par heure, notamment en raison des problèmes à l'usine de Minto. On était chanceux si on en faisait 5. Dans les faits, c'était plutôt 4.
When we got down to the bottom line,
en bout de ligne, on pouvait se retrouver avec 2 voitures par heure. Ça en faisait 16 par jour. Peu importe, on était loin des 1000 voitures par mois.
That doesn't compute to 1,000 cars a month.
C'est un chiffre ridicule, vraiment.
It was a ridiculous number. It really was.
Despite the secret loan scandal, the new year of 1975 starts with a new loan, $8.5 million in financing for the Bricklin. But for the first time, support for the car is slipping. In the legislature, the Liberal opposition goes on the attack, their campaign fueled by a series of high-level leaks.
And I remember getting a brown envelope with more or less a rough sketch at how much money had been paid out and what had really gone into the car itself and so on, and what really was needed, and contacting the sender and the sender really, sounding the alarm, saying, look, we all believed in it at first, but it's got out of hand and it's just not going to work. Oh, the Bricklin,
Is he just another Edsel? Wait and see.
As more liberal revelations make it into public, the Bricklin becomes the local equivalent of a Newfie joke. And a song by New Brunswicker Charlie Russell goes to number 17 on the Canadian charts.
Now there's this fella Malcolm, he comes from the USA. He was playing with his geometric instruments one day. His friend said what he drew was just a little bit absurd. They wondered, why would anyone put wheels upon a bird? He said, I'll go up to Canada. I'm sure they'll buy my car. The Quebecers sent them down to us, so that shows how smart they are. Now the Premier, he's not married. He's a sporty kind of guy. So this flashy vehicle for sports caught Dickie in the eye. Oh, the Bricklin, oh, the Bricklin. Here's just another Edsel, wait and see. I will let the Yankees try it, and hope to God they'll buy it. Let it be, dear Lord, let it be. Now don't get me wrong, cause this Bricklin thing could just work out all right. Until that time, our Dickie will be just a bit uptight. He blames it on the liberals, that Turnbull's such a pest. What he can't blame on Big Bad John, he blames that on the press. Big auto factories everywhere are shutting down, no sales. Investment in the Bricklin in New Brunswick still prevails. How much did you give, Malcolm? Please answer if you would. Oh, ye of little faith believe, because my word is good. Oh, the Bricklin, oh, the Bricklin. Here's just another Edsel, wait and see. Lord, Mr. Ford, we'll let the Yankees try it. Hope to God they'll buy it, let it be. Dear Lord, let it be. Well, the Rolls was called up yonder, and the Edsel was called up yonder. Will the Bricklin be called up yonder? Don't let it be, dear Lord, don't let it be. Don't let it be, dear Lord, don't let it be.
It's time for Let's Make a Deal, starring TV's big dealer, Monty Hall.
Thank you very much and welcome to Let's Make a Deal. Are you ready to deal? Then stand. Sharon Abbott, I have a deal for you that is fantastic, and I don't think it can be beat, because it's right back of that curtain, and this is what you may own in the next few months. It is America's newest sports car.
And that's the Bricklin, with safety as the most important design factor. Dramatic styling, luxurious interior, and the unique gull-wing doors for both safety and convenience. Bricklin, the car of tomorrow, today. From Bricklin Vehicle Corporation, that retails for $7,695, and we're adding tax and license for a total of $8,920.70.
That automobile, which is the latest, newest sports car on the market, worth $9,000, the way we're going to give it to you, if you win it, would put you in very exclusive company, because there are no more than 500 people in the world that own one of those. And it may be 501 in just a few seconds. And all you have to do is put things in order. And what we're going to ask you to do is take a look at the 5 items right here on the tray. Jay will describe them, and then you are going to price them for us from the least expensive up to the most expensive in perfect order. If you can do that correctly, the $9,000 sports car is yours. Can you beat that?
Another far-out idea was renting 3 Bricklins to the Scottsdale Police Department for $1 a year. The cars were for promotional purposes and not practical when it came to pursuing criminals, as the gull-wing doors were slow to open.
One of this year's highlights, an original Bricklin police car used by Scottsdale PD in the 70s that has been fully restored.
But basically it's a stock 74 Bricklin. It's just been equipped with the proper equipment to basically be what it was back in, what it looked like in 75.
The Chairman car was a make-work project for the Bricklin development team in Livonia and Scottsdale, contrary to the government of New Brunswick's wishes. The Chairman was to be double the price of the regular Bricklin, with black and gold theme. It included a new black interior, gold rims, gold racing stripes, a gold tool set, a larger engine, and a gold lame jumpsuit. The purchaser would also be flown to St. John to watch their car being built. The car never reached production due to uncontrollable circumstances.
But the public lampooning of the project is just part of a larger crisis. Complaints are now flooding in from dealers across the United States. Many of the Bricklin's engineering problems have not been solved.
Well, the first and most important major problem with the car was the doors. We did not have a system that worked like this. We had a system that took 8 seconds, produced 1,500 pounds energy, would bend and destroy the doors, which exacerbated the acrylic problem, which meant that we were cracking acrylic. We discovered we couldn't fix acrylic. Most fun when you have a whole car with no way to fix any damage. We had in '74 a suspension problem. They forgot to get the right springs. So the springs allowed the car to be too low and it bottomed. Very hard on the people riding in the car. Then we have a car with no provisions for a spare. No place to put it because it wasn't designed with a spare. We had an interesting situation in our hatches, still there on all the cars built because we can't get the water out. So where does the water go? It goes inside. The hatch seal was of a durometer. It was so soft the glass would fall in when it got hot. The console, interior-wise, was so weak that if you leaned on it, it would break. The most important thing is the buttons were far aft that you couldn't operate the doors except with your elbow.
In an attempt to save his own reputation, Bricklin and his American team blame the problems on the New Brunswick workers.
Now, if you have a work ethic, which is hunting moose, shooting salmon, etc., digging coal, cutting trees down, it's not a bad work ethic, but it is distinctly different. Americans go to the doctor when they can't go to work. They work until they drop. They haven't got a lick of sense. Europeans and Canadians, especially New Brunswickers, go to work when they have to. And they don't go because they want to.
With unemployment at record levels, workers in Atlantic Canada have a special deal. It's called 1042. Work for 10 weeks and you can claim unemployment insurance for up to 42. Bricklin workers find the scheme irresistible.
We're building the car. We're building it with people who never built a car before. So we're talking about people who are into fishing and cutting lumber. But it was just not a very complicated thing that we were doing. And they were eager, and we were paying really good wages. So they were really happy. There was a small problem that if you worked 3 or 4 months in Canada at the time, you could get a year unemployment. So every 3 or 4 months, we'd have 80% turnover. Good way to build a car. All right? So I went to the UAW in Toronto and asked them to unionize me, hoping and telling them why. I need a discipline that these people understand it's better to get when I'm paying them than go after this unemployment because they're not going to be able to come back. Why would you throw this opportunity to make a living for not ever, but for a long time, compared to getting paid 3 months and then getting whatever they give you? So they came in. It didn't help us, by the way, but anyhow, they came in. Now, I got very close to the premier. He was giving us money to bring us there because of the attention the province would get, because nobody heard about New Brunswick.
When Brickland's criticism reaches the Premier, Hatfield sees it as a cheap shot. For the first time, a rift opens between the two men, a rift that will never close.
Malcolm Brickland's comments about the workforce are, I think, unfair, and I personally resent them. For example, in St. John, New Brunswick, there's always been a very stable workforce. Shipbuilding has been a success. The Irvings are one of the leading industrialists in the world, and they've built their ships and built their oil plants on New Brunswick workforce.
Avant de travailler à la Brickland, je travaillais dans des usines à poissons à Chupagan. Puis là, après ça, j'ai entendu dire qu'ils engageaient à Saint-Jean. Fait tout de suite, moi, j'étais partante. Je voulais y aller, je voulais découvrir quelque chose de nouveau.
Alice Roussel vient de la péninsule acadienne. Elle n'a aucune expérience dans le domaine.
On va là, à la bâtisse, puis ils embauchaient tout de suite. Puis moi, je plaçais les réservoirs d'essence. Mais il y avait beaucoup... On n'était pas toutes seules, Saint-Charles. On était plusieurs, puis il y avait tout le temps quelqu'un qui disait « Tu fais ça comme ci, tu fais ça comme ça. » C'était bien facile.
Son frère, Ulysse Brideau, déniche lui aussi un travail. Il n'a que 17 ans.
Ça, je m'en rappelle, parce que c'était pas loin de ce que je me trouvais, parce que tu faisais tourner les tailleurs pour voir. Puis je coupais pour faire placer les windshields.
Je me rappellerai toujours, il y avait un monsieur qui travaillait dans l'électricité de la voiture. Et puis lui avait son expérience, je crois que c'était à l'usine de Oshawa en Ontario. Puis il dit, j'aurais jamais pensé qu'on pourrait manufacturer une automobile ici.
L'idée était d'y aller là pour travailler pour le reste de notre vie.
Oui, j'étais le 6e employé dans la manufacture. Et puis, j'étais un des derniers à travailler là aussi. C'était toute une entreprise. On a mis beaucoup d'heures et beaucoup de travail. On lit aujourd'hui de certaines fautes qui allusent à l'assemblage ou à la main-d'œuvre. Mais il y a beaucoup de ces fautes-là que c'était des fautes de production, pré-production, et puis qu'il y avait un manque d'argent dans le design original du véhicule.
On a dû faire des ajustements et le travail de finition était difficile. Les opérations, l'ingénierie et les installations ont été améliorées. On avait plus d'outils aussi. Les dernières voitures à sortir de la chaîne étaient franchement meilleures.